People who are doing the course, they're just looking up at these levels, and this is where Jesus talks about level of confusion also. So the only thing you have to focus on is here. These two here. Get to here, now your work begins. Okay? So that brings us to step 4. So, what this means, just to give you an overview of what this step's about. Where you're at now, Jesus talks about this in the course, in the development of trust. Okay? There's 6 stages of development of trust. So this first stage here now has 3 of them in it. And it is the undoing process. Okay? The sorting out process.
I'm sorry, what was it?
The sorting out process. And the relinquishing process. Right, here's what he's talking about. Okay? The undoing process. What are we undoing from? Which is detaching from.
The old thought system.
Yes, we're detaching from here to here. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right? So, stay with me. We've just done that step. Right? Step 3 was we master the empowerment tools that get us to here. So we're detaching from this mindset. Because as long as you're doing the course and you're looking at the course from here, you're not really going anywhere, you're stuck. So the first process is we detach from this mindset, we go into this mindset. The next thing is the sorting out process. So you look, he doesn't look up there, start talking about God in heaven. He's talking about when you get to here, now you start sorting out. What are we sorting out?
That's true and what's not.
Yes. We're sorting out the good room and the bad room. We're sorting out what's right and wrong, and we're putting it in now to what's true and false. Isn't that right?
Versus good and bad.
No. Basically here you have what's good and bad, right and wrong.
Right.
And we make these 2 rooms now what's true and what's false.
But isn't that another version of good room, bad room?
Okay, it is. But now what's true is true. And that everything else is false. It's a big difference.
So tell us
Something
what's
in this
true.
world that's good doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So you could see a good person doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that that person's a good person?
Not necessarily.
It's completely false that that person's a good person. Why? Because unless that truth applies to everybody, it's completely false, isn't it? Yeah?
What, because the truth is universal
Has to be.
and applies to everyone and everything?
If the truth begins with I or you, it ain't true.
So could you talk more about what is truth?
I just said what is true.
It applies
If it
to
applies
everyone.
to everybody.
Universal.
Yes. Does not everybody.
Okay, what else is truth?
That's it. Anything that applies to everybody. So I could say, we talked about this last week, I could say we are all spiritual. That's true. I could say we are all guilty. That's true. We are all innocent. That's true. Once you begin with we all, it doesn't matter what you say after that.
Because there's no separation. You're no longer separated.
You're not separated from anybody.
You're not making someone good versus, because then somebody would have to be bad.
No duality.
No.
Right.
Okay, so truth equals universalism.
Yes. Okay, so the sorting out process is here and here and here. Okay, Regina, what we're doing today is a recap. We're doing a summing up of all the other work. We're not going back into previous classes because they've already been done. If you want to look at those classes, talk to me after and you can do all this research. But we have covered this. Everybody's been here for 6 classes, have covered all of this.
Okay.
So today was really just about bringing this all together. And I want to keep this flow going. So, okay, so the sorting out process is these 2 rooms here. Very important. So we reinterpret what's true and false. Then we have the relinquishing process. Remember that was the 3rd one that he says? There's the undoing process, the sorting out process, and the relinquishing. What are we relinquishing?
Attachment?
letting go of all the wrong thoughts, judgments, and attachment to our ideas that we've had before.
What we're really doing, that's the sorting out process, you could really put that into, right? What we're relinquishing here now is what? Our false identity. Our separated identity. But remember, wasn't this very clever here that he put this in? We have to sort out the two rooms first. He didn't go after the identity, relinquishing the identity first, sort out the two rooms. Because if you try to relinquish the false identity without sorting out the two rooms, you're stuck. You're going to be in conflict with yourself. So remember what I said at the beginning? It's very important. This is like a safe. There's a combination to this. This is the Holy Grail for anybody who wants to wake up. The step-by-step process in this. It is finely tuned in detail. If you follow this process, you can't fail. I guarantee it. Okay? So that's the three, just to give you an idea what's happening. Alright? There's three things that's happening. Okay? There's the sorting out process, the undoing process, and the relinquishing process. So that brings us now to step 4. So, the process of undoing the separated self, what does it mean? This process also has 3 parts to it. So, we have the persona, we have the shadow, and we have the personality here in the middle. So we'll put the personality green. Okay, so the persona must be recognized for what it is and undone, which means that this all seeking, searching, needing, wanting, planning, desiring, expecting, and demanding must be relinquished. Why?
It's attachment to an outcome.
Right?
Those are all part of the false self.
Which part?
It's the split mind.
Which part?
It's the good mind is looking for what it wants.
The searcher.
Yeah.
Yes. Because the whole point of relinquishing the false or the separated self is now to disengage the persona, because the persona is this ego self creating itself. Okay? This is the ego trying to make itself perfect. The ego wants to wake up, the ego wants to become enlightened. So this is the ego that is seeking, searching, needing, wanting, planning, desiring, expecting, and demanding. Okay? So you know demanding there, Regina, because you were just demanding something there.
Mm-hmm.
That we can take this on. So you're coming from this perspective here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you continue this searching, seeking, and everything else, then you're giving energy to the ego. It's going to be very hard for you to relinquish. This is why I say to you, if you need information, get it. But when you get the information, you understand it, stop the search. Okay? Begin the detachment. I have enough information now. And basically that's the 2 parts to the course. The first part is the learning, the study, and the second part is the application. The application takes it into the heart. The learning and the study takes it into the thinker, which is the ego. Never believe what you think. Simple as that. It's going to get you into trouble. When you start applying those tools of empowerment, now you embody it into your heart. And that's where this has to go, into your heart. The heart and the head have to become one. So the judge is up here, the observer is here. The judge is always wrong. Never right.
What was number 4?
Number
You
four.
have the board 1, 2, 3, but you didn't fill in 4.
Ah, yeah, this is,
there's the undoing process, the sorting out process, the relinquishing process,
yeah,
and then, no, we're talking about the processes, so number 4, process.
No, there were only 3 processes, and
Oh, there were
started
3?
talking about the persona and shadow.
3 processes within step 4.
no, but that's just to give you the overview of what step 4 is about.
Okay, and that's step 4 is detachment.
Yeah. So, step 4 is detachment. You begin the process of undoing the separated self. What does this mean? This process has 3 parts. The persona, as we just discovered. Now, let's look at the shadow. The persona, as we just talked about, is the searcher, the needer, the wanter, the expector, and all these things. So the shadow must be also recognized for what it is. Okay? Which means that we take responsibility and accept everyone and everything imaginable. Remember, everything that you don't believe or don't want to believe or can't accept is in this room. As long as you remain attached to that way of thinking, you ain't going anywhere. If there's something and there's somebody doing it in this world, you're doing it. No matter what it is. Anybody can't accept that. If you can think it, there's somebody doing it. And that's the problem with this world, is you see everybody then takes that thought and put it into one of these 2 rooms. And that's why there's always conflict in this world. But if you only go up to here, then this mind accepts everybody and everything. It accepts only one thing, truth. So if you look out in the world and you see things and you think, you know, I can't accept that, reinterpret it. Is it true? Simple, isn't it? Is that difficult to do? But you see, don't forget, the ego wants you to hate it, wants you to despise it, because that's what this room is all about. This is the ego's engine here. The ego thrives on pain, fear, guilt, the lot of it. Okay? So as long as you keep believing in that, that's okay. All you're doing is giving the ego energy. Finally, this is what has to happen. You must revert back into your personality. Okay? Because that's how you come into the world, in a personality. You didn't like some things in the personality, you put them into the bad room. This is how the 2 rooms began. Okay? You didn't like things in the world, you put them in the bad room. And you didn't like things, and you did like things, or you wanted to adapt a new persona, a new personality. You might have looked at the TV and you've seen someone dressed away or singing a song or doing this or whatever, and you say, I want to be like that. So all children do this. They might see, you know, a band, the Spice Girls, whatever it is, and I want to be a Spice Girl. I want to be in a band. Young guys might want to be a footballer, want to be an all-American footballer. So this is the persona, the image that we want to be. Okay? So we have to drop it and revert back into our personality. Because in the personality now, you can go to here.
So what again is the personality?
Well, you have introverts, extroverts, you have open, people who are open-minded personalities, and then you have closed-minded personalities. You have the introvert, the extrovert. You have the agreeable and the disagreeable. You know, if you meet a disagreeable personality, you can talk to them for 2 days and they won't agree with one thing that you say. You can meet an agreeable person and you can tell them the biggest load of rubbish in the world and they'll agree with everything you say. Okay, so you get 2 disagreeable people together, what happens?
It's going to fight.
Fight.
Yeah. And you get 2 agreeable people together. What's going to
Peace.
happen? Not a lot.
No?
Nothing's going to
I
happen.
think
Peace?
It's about making things happen here. Do you know? Why do you think everybody ends up with someone who pushes their buttons? It's choice. We need to be reflected back exactly how we see ourselves. Okay? So, when you get comfortable, these are the 3 faces that we have every day. We have this nice people-pleasing face, false smile and persona and everything. When we see people, we use reaction formation to facilitate that, which means is we meet people we don't like and we take up the opposite coping mechanism, reaction formation, and we have this smile and everything. Okay? People pleasing is a big as this. People pleasing is ego pleasing. I'll please your ego if you please my ego. Okay? But then when you please someone an ego and they forget to please yours, you project onto them. We've all done this, haven't we? Okay? So, this whole separated self, identity, basically has to be now looked at and you come into this part. So you're detaching from here because the seeking is creating the suffering. You have to realize that. If you don't realize that, then nothing's going to change here. The cycle is going to keep going and going. Okay? So there has to come a time, and you have to revert back in and be content with what you have now. And that means when you're here, you can do a lot of work from here. When you're here, you might think you're here, but you ain't gone anywhere. The ego has just fooled you into thinking you're in your true right mind. And that was the trap all along. Thanks.
5 minutes till 12.
5
Yeah.
to 12.
So, what we have in those 3 steps is we're dealing with these 3 things. Okay? Any questions on that?
You mentioned the personality. I mean, is it better to be one personality or another?
No, but you see, that's what got us into trouble in the first place. We chose a personality, we didn't like it, so we wanted to be somebody else, hence the persona. And then the moment we chose the persona, we created the shadow at the back of it. So, you know, in the book, I have a chapter on the separated self. Roy has it too. Roy, would you send it to Josh? Have you got Josh's email?
No. Oh, I don't have
Has anybody got Josh's email?
I have it. I can send it.
Yeah, well, we'll just send you that chapter on it. There's a number of personalities in it. It's very important that you understand the personality because it's about kind of getting to know yourself again.
Is the goal then to transcend that personality, or you can keep your personality?
Well, no, just be in that personality.
Oh,
You know, be happy with your personality. Like, it's like, God, you know, at the end of the day, we all have a body. You know, and if you're in the body you're in, there's no point in hating the body you're in. Why? Because you have to be able to use it for as long as you're here. So what's the point in, you know, judging it? What's the point in trying to do all the things that you do with it? Like, you know, just see it for what it is. In the spiritual universe, we don't need transportation. You think you're there. Simple as that. Okay? Here, we need a body to move about because the whole game here was to make us believe we're separate, and that's what the bodies do. Bodies make us believe we're all separate from each other. So that's what the task is. So you see beyond the body now and see your spiritual identities. Okay? So to get to that point, you have to basically get back in here because this is your ego identity. This is your ego self-image. Okay? So as long as you keep giving energy to it, then, you know, you're not going to have any peace from it. So, just to, yeah.
Did you want me to send that chapter to everyone here?
No. It'll be out in the book next week anyway, sure. But no, it was just Josh because of the personalities. It would be doing good to find his own personality. And then,
oh, it's your book?
yeah.
No, I'm going to buy that.
So it's about, you know, it would be good for you also to understand the personalities you had with other people.
Okay.
Because it's only your personality clashed with their personality. If you understand their personality, you'll see exactly why relationships work and didn't work. You know, the whole point of this, everybody that comes into the body, nobody goes backwards. Everybody is moving on, you know. But the ego wants you to believe you're doing things wrong. You have to, you know, you have to atone for this. You have to, you know, karma's coming to get you. Because the ego wants you to stop. You know, the ego's just basically, we're all evolving naturally. We're growing into the light. Nothing can stop that. It's inevitable. But what you're in charge of is time. So as long as you keep holding on to that belief that you deserve to be punished, you're stopping time. Okay? You're saying, I'm not ready to wake up yet. Okay? Any day that you decide you can let this go, Josh, you can move into that peaceful state of mind where you're not attacking yourself. Okay? So, happy? Everybody?
Yes.
Right. We'll do one more step now and then we'll take a break. And then we'll come back to this. We have a lot of stuff to do in the afternoon too. Because there's a lot of information here and I don't want to be basically, I don't want to be giving you so much in one morning. So, we're on the 5th step now.
like?
The personal identity.
Okay, relinquish the personal identity. Okay? Anybody want to take a stab at what this is? Relinquish your personality, which is the identity of the separated self. Why? Because it's this identity that is keeping you spiritually asleep. How? Again, this process has 5 parts. Step 1, relinquish the attachment to the body. How do you do that? Demands, expectations, needs, and desires. That's the basis of all our relationships in our personal identities. I want this, I want that. And if I don't get it this way, I'm going to hate you. If I do get it, I will love you. This is the basis of all love relationships, the special love relationships in this world. Everybody's doing this. There's nobody innocent in this. Everybody is needing, demanding, expecting, and desiring of other people. And we will love them if they fulfill our needs, and we will hate them if they don't. That's what it comes down to. And this is all about the personal identity. The next one is gender. Relinquish the attachment to gender, which means that you will not defend either gender. In the Gospel of Thomas, in the very last one, 1:14, Jesus talks about, and it's also in the Bible, that when Peter didn't like Mary Magdalene very much, because basically Mary Magdalene was a very confidant of Jesus. It was Mary that understood most of Jesus' parables, and she used to explain them to the rest of the parable, to the apostles. But Peter was basically wanting her out. And he made the comment, will you tell this woman to leave? And Jesus says, I will make Mary into meal.
What? Into what?
Into meal.
Meal.
Male.
Meal.
Male.
Male.
And you're a man.
Male. I will make
God
Mary.
damn Americans.
We can't
We're in the
understand English.
bathroom.
When he's going to learn to talk properly, come over to Ireland.
What did he say? I will make Mary onto male.
Into a male.
Into a male.
Yes, what he's really meaning is, because what he was talking about, there's no male or female in spirit. We're one.
So no feminism.
No.
No more feminist movement.
Okay. So again, your personal identity is surrounded by the body you believe yourself to be. And the way we do this is we defend it. If you see a woman in the Middle East being treated badly, what's your thoughts around that? You know, if you see a man beating up a woman, what's your thoughts about that? If you see a woman, 25, marrying an 89-year-old billionaire, what's your thoughts about that?
She doesn't like sex.
You'd be surprised. But the point here is, okay, we have attachments and thoughts to both the male and the female of this world. Okay, we have thoughts around basically, you know, everybody's choice or the way they want to live their lives. You know, the church has very strict, you know, thesis on marriage and living together and living in sin and all of this bullshit that's out there. Okay, are you attached to all of that? Do you want to be attached to all of that? This is the ego. Simple as that. So what this is about, if you see something and you defend it, then you're still attached to male, female, which means I'm attached to separation. I like myself or I don't like myself. I like you or I don't like you. I like your body and I don't like your body. Remember, a single truth must be whole. It must apply to everybody to be true. Okay? So again, are you attached to the gender aspect? You must recognize it when it pops up, correct it, and detach from it. Simple as that. Okay? When Jesus says it's easier for a rich man, or it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go through and to the gates of heaven. This is what he's talking about. Because the rich man is rich with his personal identity. Okay? When you have no identity, believe me, you will go through the eye of a needle. Camel has no personal identity. Okay? Camel doesn't have good thoughts or bad thoughts. Doesn't have thoughts that are right or thoughts that are wrong. Those are all our personal identities. Okay? So, anybody here attached to their genders?
Yes.
Okay.
So Michael, do you vote?
Let's move on. The next one is the family identity. Okay? Because it's in our families, right, where we hold most of our judgments, most of our attacks. Our family is usually our dumping ground. So there's three types of families. There's the families who are immersed in the special love. There's the families who are immersed in the special hate. And then there's the families who have both. Okay? So you could say families have them all in the good room. Then there are families that have them all in the bad. And then there are families that have both. Okay? So we are attached very, very strongly to our family identities. It's who we are. My father, my grandmother, my grandfather, you know, it can go back a long way. And the longer you can go back, basically what you're really saying is, I'm attached a long way back. Is there anybody here that's completely attached to their family or completely willing to detach from it? Remember, it's only your thinking and your thoughts. We're not on about any physical detachments at all here. Okay? This is only the way you perceive. It's only your perception you're detaching from. So we perceive our family in a certain way. Okay? Now, there's another way we can perceive it. When you get to here, or here, you'll perceive everybody as your family. Because we're all one. And we can't be one when it sits you.
This may be a silly question, but it seems to me if we could do that, just starting with our families, all war would stop.
Yes.
Man's inhumanity to man would stop.
It will stop.
Or my tribe is better than your tribe would stop.
Yeah. So let's even move to the next one.
Okay.
Right? Because all of this was basically Christian Murphy used to call it criminal. I think Carl Jung and Einstein called it basically barbarism. It's national identity. It's criminal. You know, and it's the cause of all conflict in this world is national identity. At that level. So let's move here again. So the next one is religion.
Was number 4 nationality?
No. 5, I jumped the gun there. 4 is religion, 5 is going to be national identity. So 4 is religion, which also means the course. Okay? If you see the course as different or special or better than anything else in this world, you have made it into religion. The course is universal. Okay? Jesus says in the course, it's impossible to have a universal religion in this world, but it is possible to have a universal experience. How you're going to have the universal experience is personal. You have it. You don't get the whole world to agree with you. Okay? And religion is trying to get as many people to believe the story that you're attached to, because that story then becomes very real for you. That's what religion is. Religion is for people who are afraid to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who have just been to hell and come out. Okay, you all hear that before? Yeah? So, don't make the course into religion. If you're doing the course, that means now you don't put anything else into the bad room. Don't put the course into the good room. Because then you're just basically you're using the course to split your mind, and you're using it to attack everything else in the bad room. Okay? Don't make the course special. If you do, you're here, the course is here, and you're in the bad room. And the last one then is in our personal identity, is our national identity.
That's number 5. There's supposed to be 7, right? So
No, 5.
We're only 5.
5 steps in this one.
Oh,
Yeah. It's just the personal identity that we're looking at, the 5 elements of the personal identity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, 5 steps from step 5.
Yeah. So basically, when you look at national identity, and I talked about this on Monday night at our group, is you look at the West here, the West is the symbol of the persona. Now parts of the world is the symbol of the shadow. And now every American government and people in the West are trying to all sort out the East, or trying to sort out the problems in the Middle East. They don't realize they're creating the problem. Okay, here's the West, here's the Middle East. Okay? Everybody else, don't look at the American government for this. Everybody's buying into this. Okay? When you buy a diamond ring, where are you buying it from? You remember the Full and Blood diamond? Yeah? Africa has been raped and pillaged for hundreds and thousands of years. Everything in it. You look at blood diamond. You know, we here in the West are creating all the hate and conflict in the West, in the East, Middle East. And if we don't sit up and realize that and do so, you can't. This world is one, and everything in this world is to share, because we all breathe. Isn't that right? We all need to eat. Isn't that right? We're all going to die. Isn't that right? We have so much in common with each other, but there are parts of the world taking all the riches out of other parts of the world, leaving it in poverty and destitution. That's the shadow. So you can see now everything correlates here. What's in your mind is actually what's happening in the world. Every part is the whole. Okay? And what's happening in the world is, like Ken Wapnick, and I love this, used to say, the world is an outward picture of an inward condition. The world is an outward picture of an inward condition. So there are people living in the shadow in the world. And there are people living in the persona. So where are you living? So this is all about the personal identity. It's a this. And again, remember this. This can only be achieved and accomplishment from this level, not from here. And you can't get up to here if you're still driving the persona. You have to come into the personality. So in your meditations, what you can do is basically any thoughts that come into your meditations, just simply see them. What's true, what's false. Don't attach anything else to them. Don't see them as good or bad, right or wrong. Because that, in your little meditation now, will take you into your true right mind. It's open the door into your higher self. So it's kind of like this room, all right, is the ego. When you do a lot of meditation, or when you use these tools, you go out that door into the hallway. In the hallway, and it's lovely, beautiful. But then there's bliss going through another door. So it's kind of, you're going from here to here to here. It's a process. Okay, any questions on this? Everybody happy? Welcome back, everybody. We have, just before the break, we have covered step 5. So I just want to do a quick recap, okay, on everything, right? So step 1, which path? Okay, is it going to be a holy path, psychology, or spiritual? Because at the end of the day, don't reject any of those. Okay? What we have to do is we have to set the holiness aside on level 1. We have to get into right-minded thinking. That's what the Holy Spirit is, so you can carry your holiness and use that symbol of the right mind as the Holy Spirit. Okay? We correct the ego's wrong thought with the right thought. That's what right-mindedness is. It's the correction for wrong-mindedness. That's what truth is. Okay? Truth or illusion. Okay? And then what happens is we move into the higher spiritual area. This is where you connect with your true spiritual essence, your higher self. Anything below that line, and you claim to be spiritual, you're not spiritual. Okay? Spirituality is here. It's not something you learn. It's not something you do. It's not something that basically you think. It's something you are. And when you remember your higher self, that's your spirituality. That's what true spirituality is. It's the remembrance of your higher self. Anything up until that point will bring you to that point. You know, if your identity is a spiritual person, okay, can you bring that identity up with you? No. So you can see people, you know, our personal identity has attachments. Okay? That's the separated self. So if you're going to hang on, I'm a spiritual person, or I'm an intellectual, or I'm this, or I'm that. Basically, you're not going to move above this. So set your spirituality aside. Set, basically, the holiness aside, and just concentrate on the correction. That's it. Everything else, just don't reject it, don't judge it as good or bad, don't see it as right or wrong, but just say, right, I'm going to park that and I'm going to get to here. Okay? And I'm sure there's games out there, where there's levels like snakes and ladders. Yeah? Okay? Here's the ladder. Where's the snake? Who's the snake?
Everybody.
No, the ego. So, you'll plod up to here, and the next thing you'll have a little temptation. That little snake will come out and will say, Eve, tell Adam to eat the apple. And you will do it. And all of a sudden you go, down to here again. Okay? So you can see, you can use any symbols on this that you want. You could do, many, many things with this. Okay?
Michael, but the second you do that, you can realize it and do the correction and move back up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and that's good. It's not about getting up here and thinking, oh God, I'm back down here now, I'm a bad person, I made a mistake.
Yeah, you don't need to beat yourself up.
If you're back down here, that's a good thing. Because now you reinterpret that instead of now it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, because I have found I'm attached to something. Now I have the opportunity to let this go. Once you think like that, you're back up here, and now you've let the attachment go. Simple, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But if you make a move up here and see that move as a good move, what happens?
You go back down again.
Is it the right move?
Choose again, brother. Yeah.
See? There's many little traps out there, and this is all to do with your thinking. You see, every thought has its own identity. It has its own energy. It means something. Okay? And if you're basically attaching yourself to that thought without you knowing what that thought means, then you're going where that thought is. Remember, this is the good thoughts, the bad thoughts. The thoughts that are right, thoughts that are wrong. All the justice in here, this is the injustices. Good people in here, bad people in here. All the right moves in here, all the wrong moves in here. So don't fall into these traps when you're doing the course, when you're doing any form of spirituality.
Do you find, Michael, or did you find that as you did this work, and the better you got at it, the better disguises the ego would wear?
Well,
I'm using that metaphor. You know what I mean?
Well, look,
Yeah, we're going to come.
we're going to just cover that now in 7.
Okay.
All right, because it's a lovely little twist at the end of this at number 7. And I've been working with Diane at this at the moment. I think it's going to be a very successful. So, recap. Which path? Then, which story? Okay. Is it the sin, guilt, and fear? Designing that idea? Is it the Garden of Eden story? Is it the prodigal son story? Or is it the true meaning of life that we're here to wake up? Now, this is very important. I did this before. Whatever story you pick, okay, this is what you do at the end of this story. Listen. Simply do this. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are, what God is, all concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false or good or bad. of a chain. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring one with you thought from the past has taught you, or nor one belief you have ever learned. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with holy empty hands unto your God. So it doesn't matter which story that you want to do this. There's none of them good, there's none of them bad, there's none of them right, there's none of them wrong. But whatever story you're going to use to detach from, you're going to let it go. So you can see it doesn't matter, there's no great importance to one story or the other story. It's basically whatever story that you feel that you need to be there. So if you're attached to guilt, then you know the story that's meant for you. If you're attached to psychology and thinking, you know the story for you. So they're all stories. So then the next step is only about mastering the tools. You ain't going anywhere without and to master a tool means to apply it. To learn a tool means to study it. But to master anything, you become it, you live it, you be it. So you master responsibility, which means responsibility for everybody and everything. You're a master acceptance, same thing. ATF, advanced true forgiveness, complete forgiveness, simple forgiveness, self-empowerment, all need to be mastered. They will become natural to you. These are all the miracles. When Jesus says, I think it's in the 7th miracle principles, all miracles are natural. There's something wrong when the miracle is not happening natural. And that's what he's really saying is, we are love, and when we're not loving, there's something wrong. The miracle is love. So all of those empowerment tools will become naturally right-minded aspects of yourself that you won't even need to think to use it. There'll just be one thought. That's when you know you're the master. You won't lose your peace over anything. So the next thing then, step 4, is the detachment. And we know what we're detaching. Okay? What are we detaching? For all those who are... Everybody looks at the notes. The persona, the shadow, and the personality. So what we're really doing here is we're sorting out these 2 rooms. Okay? Remember that the process was the undoing, the sorting out, and the relinquishing. So that's step 4. And that's got to do with the separated self. Then another part of the separated self in step 5 was the personal identity. Our bodies, our gender, our family, our nationality. All of these things keep us separate. So we move now to step 6. And you all have the sheets there. And we have done this, and this is a part, I think, of the 2nd class of the separated self. And you all have been aware of the 3 layers of the separated self. And these 3 layers consist of this. Okay? You must begin to relinquish all attachments to the external, which means that you do not physically relinquish anything, but you look at, or you begin to look at everything from a different perspective. You'll be looking at it from here. Okay, so you'll automatically be seeing differently, which means you'll automatically be thinking, but give that time. It's not going to happen overnight. That is the point here. Look from a higher perspective, and it will be easy to let this go. But when you're in the middle of it, it's impossible to let it go. Next, you must look at all the ego's coping mechanisms with a new, and replace them with the new empowerment tools. Okay? Especially that of complete forgiveness and self-empowerment. Lastly, the most difficult part of all to do is the ego's defenses. So the way you disarm the ego's defenses is you first recognize them, you correct them, and then you replace them with new coping mechanisms, like complete forgiveness. very, very powerful tool. There's a number of psychotherapists in Ireland using that with their patients now, Josh, and it's been unbelievably successful. So have a good look at that. So here you can see you have the separated self. Let me just put up the diagram. So you have the separated self, and then you have basically the three layers around it. On the out layer you have attachments, okay? In the middle layer you have the coping mechanisms, and then you have the defenses. Okay? So you work from the outside in. A lot of people do in the course, this is the separated self in the middle here. And this is all the defense, this is the ego thought system that keeps it protected. So a lot of people do in the course will start here with their defenses. And the defenses are very, very strong here because the coping mechanisms reinforce their defense, and all the attachments protected, because we will fight to keep our attachments. Anything you're attached to, you're not going to give it up. Just watch if someone else comes to your attachment and interferes with it. You know, if you like things a certain way, and someone else moves it, or someone else does something with it, just look how you react. And it might be just, you know, putting a dinner set out. It might be putting a cup on a table. You know, just look the way you react when someone doesn't do it the way you want to do it. That's an attachment. And if that's over a cup, you can imagine the attachments that we have to our beliefs, our reputation, all of these things. So the personal identity is a reputation. So in this step now, what you're doing, you've already started working with the separated self, this mind, but now that mind is also protected here. So you must let the separated self dissolve. And the way it's going to dissolve is when all of these fall apart, everything falls apart, and you just wake up. Okay? So when you're doing this work, all this work, you're doing it from here, and all of this here is starting to collapse. Time starts to collapse. The more that you do this work and all those steps, everything here starts to basically fall apart. Which brings us then to the very final step, step 7. When you've reached this stage, what is left of your attachments to the ego will have retreated now. If you read the section on grandeur and grandiosity, this is what he's talking about. If the ego feels threatened, it will retreat. It will sit still. That's its protective device. It won't move a muscle, and you will think that you have the job done. And this happens to an awful lot of people. It's very, very common. Once they start doing this work, and they might sit, the ego could sit for a year, a couple of years, and all of a sudden, hell breaks out again. It basically takes away the confidence, and that person kind of thinks now they've done something terrible, they've done something wrong, what did they do, and all of this. So, in this process, what I have looked at and been guided on is that now the conditions for being awake is stillness and quietness, where the mind is basically now not in the trained thoughts of good and bad and right and wrong. They're not even in now what's true and false. They're just in the state of being. Okay? So at this level now, if you're not awake at this point, what you do is you sit still. And what happens? The ego will come to you. Why? Anybody? Why will the ego come?
Because it wants attention?
It needs it. It needs energy. It won't sit for too long. If the more that you're in silence, the more that you're there, and if you're still having attachment, that attachment will come to take you out of that. is automatic by the ego. Anytime that you feel contented, anytime you're in a nice space, that's a big siren goes off in the ego thought system, and the ego is automatically going to try to pull you out of that experience. So the more now that you be in your center, the more that you are quiet and still, anything the ego has now will come to you. So you sit patiently and you just look, and when you observe it coming, you know, I'm attached to this because maybe I've reacted to it. Now you let that go. And you go back to sitting in silence.
When that happens, the ego can bring you, I don't know how to say, like tragedy or even good things, but either way, it's just.
It'll bring you depression, it'll bring you anger, it can bring you anything.
But it can also bring you things that we might think of as positive, right? Like
Of course.
joy or things
distract you.
to continue.
It could even come, well done, you've done a great job. You're now in line.
Yeah.
You have to basically be as wary for the persona of the ego, which is specialness, and the shadow. Because the ego will use whatever one that it feels that you are still attached to. And it usually is specialness, because specialness is the primary cause of all guilt. You can't have specialness without guilt. So we all seek the specialness. It's kind of like the carrot that's dangled in front of us. Lead us not into temptation. You know? We might see a very special person. I want to be with that special person. So the specialness, we go for it. Tempted. Here we go. And all of a sudden then we're into this relationship and it turns into a disaster and we walk away. And what do we walk away with? Guilt. Is that true, Joseph? Every relationship's the same. You can't have specialness without the guilt. And when the relationship's over, all you're left with is the guilt. Isn't that true? Anybody here disagree with that? So you can see the insanity in all of this. It's the persona that's going to be the tempter. Look at Jesus in the desert. He went out into the desert. This is the step 7 that he's talking about. And let's call it that. Let's call it the desert. Okay? And in the desert, there's nothing. There's not even a horse with no name. It took you 2 seconds. So, what that is, what Jesus' journey in there is a symbol for this. When he went into the desert, he was going into the silence. He was going into no identity, non-attachment. Okay, not even food. He was undoing his needs, any expectations, demands that he had. And the ego came to him with 3 temptations of specialness. Each was all designed to teach him, has he still got an ego? You know, one of them was the temptations, if you're the Son of God, you can't basically rule all over. I will give you all of this to rule over. Another one was, you're hungry, so turn that stone into bread. Because the need was there. Have you a need? And then the last one was, throw yourself of that there and raise yourself up. If you're the Son of God, God will save you. So all of these temptations are all relevant at this stage. Okay, specialness will come. Well, when the special just doesn't come with the ego, what's the ego going to come with next? Fear. There'll come with stories about where you're going to be damned. There's no you, there's no bodies in heaven. You're not going to be special in heaven. All of these things, these are all the stories. These stories are in our heads all the time. And you're going to encounter these 3 temptations. I did. Just before I woke up, I had 3 temptations. I had 3 choices to make where my motivation could have been all about me or could have been about other people. And twice I chose to put other people in front of myself. But the 3rd temptation happened basically about 30 seconds just before my experience. And it was that I knew something was going to happen. And I started to search about to see what's going to happen that day. That was my birthday. That was it. And remember, this was the last thing I expected. And what happened was there's a new lottery starting in Ireland on that day, the night of my birthday. And this was the same night 10 years previously where I had the first 5 numbers out. Okay, and it was 1.5 million. And I had the 6th number. My 6th number was 20, and 21 came out. I couldn't get closer. So I kind of figured, oh, I'm going to win the lottery. So I went and bought my tickets and everything, and I was convinced I was going to win the lottery. And I was sitting at the computer, and I had my headphones on, and my son was there and everything, and I started to think, do I really want to win this money? My son was watching the TV, and there were about a couple of minutes to go, and I was very tempted to tell him to turn it over to see the numbers. And I started to think, well, I said, Jesus, I've been in hell for the last 10 years. I had all the money, and I had cars, basically you name it and everything, and I went, Jesus, I couldn't go through that again. You know, I'd have to spend all that money. What am I going to spend it on? Like, you know, more drink, drugs, you name it. And I went, no. And I threw the lottery ticket in the fire, and I never turned it off over the TV. And in the next instant, I woke up. I had my first spiritual awakening. So you can see in life we're making choices. And to me, that was the final choice that I had to make. That I wanted nothing in this world anymore. There was nothing in this world that basically could cover up the fact that it was a crock of shit. Everything in it disgusted me to the extent. And I didn't know what else there was. I wasn't doing it thinking, well, I'm going to go to heaven, because I did want to go to heaven because I wanted to see God. And I wanted to tell God what I thought of God. You know, I basically wanted to meet him face to face and then tell him to fuck off. And I says, right, you've done everything you possibly could to me, right? And nothing else you can do to me. So, you. And that's what was in my heart at that, well, it was in my head with the pain and everything, like, because a part of me blamed God for it. So, in all of this, you know, you're going to come to this stage, and this stage is happening in every minute. You're being tempted in every minute. You know, 1,000 times a day you're being tempted with thoughts. Don't get confused with physicality and psychology. It's the thoughts parts that we're attached to. That is where we have to be the observer now. What am I attached to? And it's very simple. Anything you're attached to will piss you off. It will annoy you. It will irritate you. It will depress you. It will give you pain. So you don't have to be an intellectual psychologist to understand that. Anything that hurts you, look at it and become one with it and detach from it. Okay, reinterpret it. That's the only way you can let anything go, is through reinterpretation. When people are confused if to release stuff or let stuff go or what forgiveness is, it's reinterpretation, because forgiveness is the reinterpretation of the denial of the thoughts in our mind. That's all forgiveness is. And that reinterpretation detaches that. Okay? So is there any questions on this? Are you all happy? And at the very bottom I said, let me read. What did it read? I'll just read this little section at the end I liked it. It says, if you're not awake at this point, it will not be too long before you are. The moment you wake up on level 3, God will wake up within you. You are on your way home. See you there.